Welcome to Keiko Vision, a podcast to pump you up to change the world. Hosted by me, Jordana. Let's get started. Hi, and welcome to Keiko Vision with Jordana. I'm Jordana, and I will be your host. So this past week has been challenging for a lot of people. I'm not going to focus this episode on abortion and women's right to choose. I have a podcast on that already. If abortion wasn't available to me when I was younger, I would have an adult child right now. I have never once regretted my decision, and I think it's ridiculous in a country where we struggle to feed the children that we have, that we're forcing people to have more. This past week has been difficult on multiple levels, and I have a feeling my ADD will be on full display this episode because my mind has been all over the place. So if I've talked to you in the last 6-7 months, you've probably heard of my bathroom drama. My bathroom from upstairs leaked to the first floor, and when I was going through the process of getting it fixed, I decided to redo the master bath. Contractor took thousands of dollars, ripped up my bathroom, started to lay some tile, and then just ghosted me. I ended up having to hire another contractor. So I basically had to pay to get my master bath done twice. And it's still not done because the original contractor won't give the new ones the information needed to complete the job. It's been a nightmare. This was the first time since I have been consulting that I ran into financial difficulties. It was frustrating to see that there were people basically waiting in the wings, waiting for this to happen. The other day I was driving and there was a woman on the side of the road, her car in the middle of an intersection, really upset. And so I pull over, I was in the car with my mom, and we tried to help her. We were going to try to push her car out of the intersection, but the wheel was tilted and it wasn't moving at all. And she was really upset. It was her birthday and she was already having a really crappy day. She had forgotten her purse, her wallet. She went to get a massage that couldn't pay with Apple Pay. And then she ends up in this intersection and, had to call the police to help out. And thankfully, the Plainsboro police were really nice, didn't give her a ticket for not having her information. But I was trying to calm her down a little bit. And I was telling the story of this contractor who ghosted me. And I said, "You think you're having a bad day? I just found out that my second bathroom is leaking. Finally have a bathtub, but now no working shower." I told the story how I paid this contractor thousands of dollars. He started the work and then just stopped right after he got another installment. So the police told me that what he did was criminal and that, I should come down and file a police report. I think about how if the Keiko community was set up and utilized the way that I know it can be, maybe I could have avoided all this. From what I'm hearing now, this isn't the first time this guy is doing this. Sure, I won't be the last unless there's serious repercussions for him. And I was looking it up. It's actually a felony what he did. But we need to use community feedback and technology for the people's benefit. Right now, there's so much information. It just becomes white noise. We need to structure that information and make it so it benefits individuals. And I know that we can. We just need enough people to want to do it. We need a technology company, but one that works for all of us. And not to create another Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerberg. The only way that I see Plus, doing that is having people come together first and then build around them and their needs. And right now, I think there is a lot of need. I read another article about a successful news anchor who was part of the Great Resignation. And she said she didn't want other people raising her kids, and that was more important. And as someone who basically partook in the Great Resignation before it was a thing, I can tell you that's going to be more and more common. Right now, to be successful, you've got to give it your all. Balance is something that most companies are not good at incorporating into their culture. Many try, but most aren't successful. Or they say they do, but they don't. I worked in Philadelphia for a reinsurance brokerage firm when I got married. The head of the whole Northeast tried to call me on my wedding day. It was other people in the office who stopped him. When I gave my notice, he called me into his office, and I sat outside of his office and knew that he was a screamer and he did not like when people left the company. He asked why I was leaving, and he said that if it was money, they could take care of it. But I told him that I wanted to raise a family and I needed that balance. He understood that decision. It was an acceptable reason to leave the company. He had to have been a multimillionaire, and he lost his kid to suicide. The reason why I joined the reinsurance company that I did was because the CFO at the time convinced me that there would be a better work-life balance. But still, even when he sold me on that, I still ran into an issue when I was traveling for what I considered extended periods of time. When Chase was pretty young, probably about a year and a half, 2 years, he really freaked out when I would be gone Monday through Thursday and then drop him off at daycare. He didn't understand that I was going to come back at the end of the day. And it was really difficult for him. And I asked my boss at the time, if I leave in the morning on Monday before my kid wakes up, and if I come home Thursday after my kid goes to sleep, can I work from home on Friday? My boss at the time did not agree to that. I thought that that was a very reasonable request. And what I've seen, it's not the everyday worker that's resigning. It's the rock stars. It's the people who are really good, because there is no in between. You're either really good at what you do and you put everything into it, or your ass is on the line the next time that there are cuts to be made. And that stress is not something that people want to live with. And more people are seeing that you can sacrifice some of the best years of your life for a corporation, and they have no loyalty to you. So what do we do with all the people that are choosing to work to live instead of to live to work? I think we need to make it really easy for these people to contribute in other ways. And we should make it easy for people to support their initiatives. And that's what I'm trying to do. It's not working very well. We need to make it easy for people to contribute to society and to live comfortably, enjoy the time with their children and help raise them, not be off on business trips all the time. But to do that, we need to change the way that we think about contributing. There are people who think that I don't work. They give me no credit for putting together an elaborate website and sharing this information. And it only counts as work if I am getting paid for it. One person who has always been by my side throughout everything Keiko related has been my dad. And so I saw him for a hike this weekend, and it's like every time I feel beaten down, my dad's always there to lift me back up. And it's like perfect timing, you know? So I met him for a hike, and he gives me a box of Keiko branded mini screwdrivers. It's like a little light, and then you flip it open, and then there's different screwdriver heads. And it's like he's always thinking about how he can help and how he can support me. And God, it means so much to me. And so I have a whole bunch of these. And if you want one, just reach out to me on the Keiko app. And until supplies run out, I will send you one, along with a sticker and a pen. After the break, I'll share with you what I think we should do and how we can use technology that we already have to support each other.
Keiko, the social app. K-A-K-O. Keiko, the social app. K-A-K-O. Keiko, the social app. Keiko rules. Keiko, the social app. Billionaire greed. Keiko, the social app. Destroying America. Keiko, the social app. T-minus 7 years and counting. Keiko, the social app.
And with that, let's get back to the show. Right now we have data, but it's a mess. We need it organized to benefit individuals and not large corporations. We need an organization that puts the people first and doesn't create another billionaire gone wild. There are so many ethical questions when it comes to technology. And if we keep rewarding things the same way we have in the past, things are going to get really bad. They already are. So many people called, texted, saying they were crying. They were so upset about the Supreme Court decision. It's like this was already etched in stone the day Ruth Bader Ginsburg died. This shouldn't come as any surprise. Neither should what's coming next. And I'm so sick of all of my fears being realized. And I get that I haven't found a way to easily monetize this yet. I was hoping that enough people of means that see how terrible the situation is could sponsor my work. And I know there are sites that people pay to have access to materials or to people and their thoughts, but that goes against what it is I'm trying to do. And I want to find a way to monetize this for everyone and not just me. That's the whole point. Until I do that, I feel like I'm carrying the weight of the world on my shoulders because I know it's possible. Right now, we can already be using technology better. We just need enough people to do it. The way that I see it now is that everybody can have their own group with links to the things that they can offer the community. So one of the things that I'm looking into is Cottage Laws. And at the end of 2021, there were changes to make it easier to sell baked goods from your house. There are people who sell the Airbon and the Roden and Fields. There's so many different things, but then there are also articles and videos and blogs and podcasts and just knowledge sharing. So for me, when I go through the process of getting a certificate for the Cottage Laws, I'll put that up on mine. I already have my podcast, the Utopia versus Dystopia episodes that somewhat go along with the podcast, linked to NJ Canamama, where you can learn about common strains that are sold in New Jersey, but then you can also track how different strains interact with you. So this way, if you're going to a party with friends, you don't take the stuff that knocked you out or made you paranoid. If you have migraines like me, it's good to know which strains were helpful and which strains pushed you over the edge and made you throw up. But if everybody has their own groups with their own links to contributions, and if we created a community of support where we actively try to help the members around us, that would be our first step in creating meaningful change. I know to some people, or maybe even a lot of people, this doesn't count as work. I have to deal with that more often than I'd like. But I want to change that. I think that this should be enough. I don't want to sacrifice my kids' childhood. I don't fault those who chose a different path or more traditional path or are choosing one right now. My mom did that, and I am so glad that she did. I went to college, didn't have a cent in student loan debt. My kids won't either. But I have a different perspective. Looking back on it, I know how risky that decision was. I've said multiple times on this show how I could have gone either way for a while, and how I lost friends to deaths of despair. I coped with a lot on my own. I went to a competitive high school, and I ended up dropping out of it. The reason why I dropped out was because I missed first period too much, and they wanted me to repeat a class that I was passing, that I knew the material, I just didn't attend the class enough. It was insane to me. I dropped out, I went to a community college and then transferred to a 4-year university, Rider University, which I later went back for an executive MBA program, which I absolutely loved. In Rider, I got Dean's List every semester. I didn't need the last year and a half of high school, and I certainly didn't need to take a class again. So that was the right decision for me. For most, that's not, and I don't recommend it. And it's funny because when I went in to my guidance counselor's office, he told me that it was the worst decision I was ever making and that I was going to regret it. And so I waited. I had Dean's List every semester. I come with my transcript. I'm ready to graduate. And I put the transcript down on his desk and I just smiled. And I said, "What now?" And he said, "I always knew you could do it." And I thought that was such BS until I found out years later that he was actually the one that called my mom and convinced her to let me drop out because I wasn't 18 yet. He just knew that by telling me that it's the worst decision that I was ever going to make, that would push me that much harder to prove him wrong. I think his name was Mr. Cam. It's either Mr. Cam or Mr. Carr. One was the principal, one was the guidance counselor, and the guidance counselor, special place in my heart for that. See, when I want to learn about something, it comes easy. I'm blessed in that regard. But communication and how to get what's in my head out of my head has always been a struggle. I was diagnosed late in life with ADHD, and it's no surprise that one, if not both of my kids also have it. So we go to the doctor, and I really like this doctor. So to do all of what I'm trying to do, my kids and I are on Medicaid. And a lot of times for specialists, I feel rushed. And this doctor, she's amazing. She has never rushed us once. She just goes out of her way to explain everything and make sure that we really understand. And when she was explaining ADHD to my son, it made me realize how I wish that I had that explained to me at an early age. She said that people with ADHD help us evolve. That if everyone thinks the same way, that we don't make progress. And that it takes people who think outside the box for this process of evolution. So she said, don't look at it as a weakness, but try to channel it to become a strength. And I absolutely love that. And I was reading an article yesterday that was basically saying something very similar about dyslexia, which is funny because Peter, our guest from last week, is dyslexic. So ADHD has always been a blessing and a curse for me. But I really liked that explanation. So I know I just went on a bunch of tangents there. Sorry if my mind is a little scatterbrained at the moment. On that note, I'm going to end the show. The next episode will air on Tuesday the 12th. Everybody have a safe and happy 4th of July.
Keiko, the social app. K-A-K-O. Keiko, the social app. K-A-K-O. Keiko, the social app. Keiko rules. Keiko, the social app. Billionaire greed? Keiko, the social app. Destroying America. Keiko, the social app. T minus 7 years and counting. Keiko, the social app.